Around 12,000 years ago, humans made a decision that changed history forever. In fact, it changed our very nature. Humans decided to domesticate animals. Up until this point, humans had been hunter-gatherers, but now we could use animals for labor and for food. It was a big deal. You've probably heard of some of the first domesticated animals: dogs, pigs, and cows. But there was another species humans decided to tame as well: the horse. Horses would prove to be an invaluable addition to human society. They helped us travel long distances quickly, hunt more effectively, and go to war. In fact, many historians believe that horses are one of the reasons why humans have dominated the planet. But in the modern day, most of us don't have much need for horses. Sure, they look cool and they're fun to ride every once in a while, but for the most part, they're just kind of in the way. So today, millions of horses are put down every year. They're considered pests. But it wasn't too long ago that humans and horses were best friends. In fact, it wasn't too long ago that this was the typical family portrait. Now I know what you're thinking. Whoa, hold on. You said that humans domesticated horses 12,000 years ago. How are you telling me that not too long ago humans and horses were best friends? Doesn't that seem a little weird, considering that right now there's like 6 billion humans on the planet and only about 60 million horses? The answer is simple. It's not too long ago means not too long ago from a human perspective. We live for about 80 years, give or take. And even if we make it to 100, we still consider ourselves to be relatively young. When we think back, we can only remember a few generations. But from the perspective of other species, including horses, we're practically immortal. Horses used to be everywhere, so many that humans didn't even think of them as being special. But over the last few hundred years, we've caused dramatic declines in their population. So when you see a horse these days, it seems exotic. But not so long ago, they were as common as cats and dogs. In fact, they were both domesticated around the same time, and for the same reasons. One of the biggest differences between horses and other domesticated animals is that horses were never really kept as pets. Sure, kids probably liked riding them, and grown-ups probably liked cuddling them every once in a while. But unlike cows, pigs, and chickens, horses were never really considered to be cute. And unlike dogs, horses were never really considered to be man's best friend. The relationship between humans and horses was always a bit more transactional. Horses did stuff for us, and we gave them food and water in return. This transactional relationship may have actually been good for horses, though. After all, by choosing to domesticate them, humans provided horses with an endless supply of food. In the wild, horses have to spend a huge amount of energy looking for food. This isn't a problem when there's plenty of food available. But droughts and other disasters can easily wipe out huge swaths of wild horses. By taming horses and providing them with food, humans ensured that they wouldn't starve. And when humans traveled to new lands, they brought horses with them so that they wouldn't be caught without a way to get around. So humans and horses sort of helped each other out. We gave them food and they gave us transportation. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. For example, horses often had to pull heavy loads, and they frequently had to pull those loads for long periods of time. On top of that, horses sometimes had to pull carriages full of grumpy humans who didn't always treat them very nicely. And sometimes humans wanted to go to war, which meant that horses had to pull heavy cannons and carry soldiers into battle. It's no wonder that some people say that working horses are better off, because at least they get to take it easy during their downtime. Anyway, it wasn't until recently that humans stopped using horses for labor. And when this happened, a lot of people were happy, but horses probably weren't one of them. After all, humans had been using horses for tens of thousands of years. And suddenly, that lifestyle was over. In the modern day, horses are often seen as symbols of a bygone era. They represent a time when life was slower and more difficult. And while this may be true, it's also not entirely accurate. Horses were never everywhere. There were always more horses in some places than others. And the majority of horses lived in places where life was anything but slow. Working horses often had to work long hours, and they frequently had to work long and hard in order to survive. Today, most people see horses as noble creatures who served humans well for many thousands of years. And this is definitely true. But it's also important to remember that horses had their own culture and their own way of doing things. Just because they were domesticated doesn't mean that they were simple beasts of burden. In fact, horses are incredibly intelligent animals who are capable of complex emotions. So the next time you see a horse, take a moment to appreciate all that they've done for us over the years. And don't forget that they were once as common as cats and dogs. Now check out How Did Horses Get So Big, or click this other video instead.